Welcome back to the Naval News segment of the stream. We're going to start with a story that many of you sent me over the past couple days, so I figured I might as well cover it, or else you guys will just keep sending me this story. This is actually from last month, but it is important to talk about. This comes from the UPI. UPI.com is the source. Article written by Jake Thomas. Reports British carrier followed by Chinese subs, possibly for target practice. No, possibly about it. Certainly. So the Royal Navy aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth, docked in Portsmouth ahead of a deployment, has reportedly been seen to have a at-sea interaction with both Russia and China this week. Very confusingly written sentence there. Okay, August 12th, Chinese submarines. So again, last month, Chinese submarines may have stalked British aircraft carrier in a display of military strength in the contested South China Sea, though China claims the ships may have revealed themselves purposefully, according to reports. The Royal Navy aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth has been followed by two Shang-class submarines with armed cruise missiles, the British Daily Express reported this week. Submarines were detected by sonar operators on the HMS Kent and HMS Richmond as the carrier group moved into the Pacific from the South China Sea. A third submarine was detected by a Royal Navy Astute-class submarine that is with the fleet now. China has claimed the sovereignty over the body of water, which has been in dispute by Western powers, where it has built several artificial islands. We're talking about the South China Sea here. A quote from the piece says, Beijing is using technology to locate our positions, but are deploying submarines to reinforce their wider intent to move towards superpower status and dominate trade and security across the Pacific. Contrary to international law, an unnamed naval officer told the paper. The Global Times, an English language paper controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, responded to the report citing Chinese military experts who said express account is not credible. It is intended to show off the British anti-submarine capabilities. Yeah, so one thing that's not in question is that there were certainly three Chinese submarines shadowing the HMS Queen Elizabeth and her flotilla that's all around her. One of the submarines, maybe more than one, but one for certain, surfaced very near the fleet as they were exiting the South China Sea, implying that they had been following them through the South China Sea. And right before they wanted to go back to home port, they revealed themselves. And that's Chinese perspective. That's what they're going with, is that they were not detected until they gave themselves away intentionally. Of course, the Queen Elizabeth and her flotilla are saying, hey, we were tracking them the whole time. We knew that they were there. Who knows what story is true? I can tell you from firsthand experience, Chinese submarines are notoriously noisy, including their diesel boats. Just because they're a diesel boat, they aren't magically quiet. They certainly don't operate them in a quiet manner. They don't know how to be good sailors, it seems, from my firsthand experience. Second firsthand experience, or second example, is I've been on board these Royal Navy frigates, and I've seen their sonar systems. I've laid hands on them in the past 5 years, we'll say, and they're really good. They're really good. So it's highly likely that during their transit, they saw the submarines, they knew they were there, and they just monitored their position. So I'm kind of siding with the Royal Navy, knowing that the submarines were there. Either way, the event happened. They were out there watching the Queen Elizabeth, and the Queen Elizabeth was watching them back. And so it's really, after that, it's really not much of a story, but it is interesting to see how both countries reacted to it politically and openly, in these newspaper articles. Both sides are trying to claim victory here. The truth is, if any of those submarines had shot at the carrier would have taken a hit. I'm not saying they would have sank it, but it would have taken damage for sure. And so they're just putting themselves in a position of saying, hey, this is what we could have done from the Chinese perspective. What do you guys think about this? China tracking our ships in the South China Sea with their submarines. And it's probably going on right now too. This is not just a one-off event. This is just the first time it happened to this ship, You heard the artificial islands are sinking. Yeah, the artificial islands need constant renewal because they're not naturally formed and they just erode. Yeah, they're basically pumping sand from the bottom of the South China Sea up onto man-made atolls, if those of you that are not aware. And then as the tides come in and out, it pulls that sand back down to the sea where it belongs. Because again, it's not a naturally occurring landmass. MD says, let the subs come and play and gather intel on them. That's what they did. Yeah, Space Mishka says, Chinese sailors better watch your channel to improve. Well, yeah, I don't think I'm giving away any things that they don't have in their own training system. They're just not good sailors yet. They'll get there. They're just not good sailors yet. Vulcan Rider says, I think Chinese are getting too big for their britches. Yeah, they are. Yeah. I mean, the thing I find audacious is that they're claiming islands that have been jointly claimed by like 3 or 4 or more different nations for hundreds of years. And now just out of the blue, they're saying these are ours now. It reminds me of that meme cartoon where the guy says, I made this, and the guy next to him takes it and said, now I made this. You know, he just took it. It's literally that level of theft. And I don't see how China even thinks that they can get away with that. And they can't. And that's why we're patrolling and doing freedom of navigation passages in the Straits of Taiwan and South China Sea, just to remind China that there is something called a rule of law, and that's what we're following. We're not following Chinese fantasy of what they want the world to be. Not yet, anyway. We'll see what comes the next 100 years, you know. You need more ASW measures? I'm good. I've got enough ASW measures, thanks. Sailor says, sound like you run a mill saber rattling. Russians do it all the time. Yeah. The Russians still have their, they have a ship called the Yantar off the coast of Ireland right now, monitoring, inspecting, manipulating, whatever you want to call it, undersea cables. Yep. MD says it'll be interesting to see if they can foot the maintenance bill on their growing fleet next 5 to 10 years. That was one of the things I'd pointed out a few weeks ago, is that they're building so many ships so fast, they're going to need to begin recycling those ships back into the shipyard for their midlife upgrade or repair or overhaul. And when they do that, they'll either need to build bigger shipyards or slow down their pace of construction so that they have berths to bring these ships in for long-term maintenance. Or I proposed a theory that they don't ever intend on doing that they're going to treat these new ships, the smaller ships, as burner phones, use them once until they're done and get rid of them. That's something else that they could do. Yeah. China is basically Germany claiming Poland and its surrounding countries before World War II. Yeah, you could think of it as, it was Austria, wasn't it? If my memory serves, Germany wanted parts of Hungary and Austria. And it's very similar to that. And they have a very similar military buildup as well as what Germany had before World War II. And they're combining new technologies like Germany did in the interwar years. So Germany combined tactical air with radio communications and coordination with high-speed land warfare in the tank. Those 3 things were new technologies in the 1920s and 30s. And Germany integrated that into a military force before other European countries did. Well, China is taking today's technology that's breaking edge, like AI, machine learning, cyber warfare, long-range fires with hypersonic weapons. They're taking these new technologies, integrating them into their military, just like Germany did. So there are a lot of parallels here. And this is why people in the military, in the Pentagon, higher than I ever was, are going to the current administration and saying, hey, we need to prepare for war. We need to go to Congress and build more ships. And to their credit, Congress is responding with an additional $23.9 billion in next year's budget alone for 13 new ships to begin construction. So it seems like we've got the message. We see the signs, everything that I'm pointing out here, and we actually have a government that's taking action to address these concerns. Now, I know it's not hard to sell the American government to buy more military stuff. I mean, we gotta use that money that was going to go to Afghanistan next year on something else. Might as well build ships with it, right? I get it. So it's not that much of an achievement, but it's nice to see that we're not shouting into a void here on this channel. We're actually echoing what people in the Pentagon are saying and taking action on, which makes us feel good that we're making some serious, analysis here, stuff that makes sense to people outside the stream. people that matter, like generals and admirals. All right, I'm going to stop patting myself on the back now. Geez, I don't normally do that very much. Let's go on to the next story. China's building another aircraft carrier, folks, and it looks a hell of a lot like one of ours. Not saying they stole nothing, but they might have stole a few things here. China's new Type 003 aircraft carrier will be advanced, but not a game changer, says the U.S. This is going to make one hell of a reef one day. This is by James Webb from the Military Times. So credit to James Webb. Thank you, sir. He says, when complete, China's first modern aircraft carrier will be a great leap forward, but still not a game changer as far as the U.S. Navy is concerned, experts tell the Military Times. The Type 003, China's first modern aircraft carrier, will enable the People's Liberation Army Navy to project power past the first island chain, says a report recently published in Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense. The first island chain refers to the major archipelagos from the East Asian mainland coast stretching out to the Kamchatka Peninsula in the northeast of the Malay Peninsula and the South Malay Peninsula to the southwest, including U.S. interest and allies in Taiwan. Okay, so basically just the ring of islands that keeps them from getting out into the Pacific without driving by or near another country, right? They could just keep the carrier on the eastern side of Taiwan and they would already have, a large presence out there, which is one of their goals. Not just to take Taiwan, but to be able to get to the Western Pacific without driving near these archipelagos. China's new carrier is expected to be fully operational by 2025 and will feature advanced electronic warfare devices and modern catapult systems like the Americans one. These advancements represent a significant technological leap for Beijing. Experts who spoke with Military Times did not believe its development would detract from U.S. operations in the Pacific theater. Yeah, if anything, we'll just throw another carrier over there. We're going to have 12 of them. Might as well keep 3 out of Japan. The carrier will certainly impact PLAN's maritime capabilities vis-a-vis its east and southeast neighbors by the end of the decade, but it will not significantly impact U.S. warfighting capabilities in West Pacific. Yeah, this is just basically another feather in the cap for them. I can't zoom in on this picture, sadly, but there you can see it's got 2 catapults here. This is just a parking area, and it's they do have a trap system here. You can see they're what looks like a trap system. It's got to have a trap. Yeah. Let's go back to the PC if they have any more details on this. Okay, while the Type 003 boosts significant new electronic warfare technology, according to Funiol, much of it remains untested. As such, it isn't easy to ascertain how effective it will be. However, according to Taiwan News, China is emphasizing expanded hard kill and soft kill EW inventories for the carrier. So an EW, a hard kill, is a weapon usually involved with a blast or fragmentation, a warhead that destroys an incoming warhead, versus a soft kill, electronic warfare, relies on jamming and potentially microwaves to disrupt the incoming missile. So they have both hard kill and soft kill. We've got something similar in our Navy. All right, U.S. pilots. So additionally, the China's entrance into the carrier operation is recent. At the same time, the U.S. has decades of experience in developing a carrier doctrine during peacetime and considerable experience conducting carrier operations during wartime. Right. So just because they build this new ship, they're going to have 3 carriers, one of which will have catapults, much like the ones we have. It doesn't make them better sailors, which is kind of getting back to the point we were making earlier about how they operate their submarines. Yeah, they have a bunch of new submarines. They're just not quiet because they don't operate them quietly. They literally operate these submarines like they're brand new to submarine warfare and they're figuring it out. And eventually they'll be good sailors, but they're just not there yet. We expect the same type of ineptitude to happen with this carrier whenever it comes live. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this is a real concern? Because maybe it is. It looks slightly familiar. Yeah, it looks a lot like not our newest carrier, but the generation before it in terms of size, and it just doesn't have Cat 3 and Cat 4. It's only got 2 cats. You think that's a catapult? I don't think that's a catapult right there. I could be wrong. It just doesn't look right. It is about the right length, though. I'll give you that. So it could have 3 cats. The Raven says, I'm curious when the Chinese Navy will do soft power actions like the U.S. is helping Haiti after the last earthquake. So what China does... China does a lot of soft power actions. It just doesn't do it out of charity. So what China's been doing is offering very low interest loans of enormous sums of money in yen, I guess, Chinese money, to countries around the world. And so the reason what they're doing is like they're doing this to African nations right now is they offer them money for using their port, right? And whenever they can't pay that loan back because it's in billions of whatever dollars, they say, well, instead of paying us back, let us run the port. And so instead of doing charity work like what we're doing in Haiti right now, they offer money, which is in some ways better than charity work. But in the end, they know that the loan that they've given that poor African country or the whatever country, because they've done this all across Southeast Asia as well, they can't pay back that total sum in the time frame of the contract of the loan, right? And then that's how they've been acquiring these ports around the world. So in a way, that is a soft power action right there. Yen is Japanese. What's the Chinese currency? I'm completely brain farting on that. I don't know what the Chinese currency is. All right. So Intimidator says, but they are in a race against time. They can play the long game of development. That's true. Yeah. So they do set goals, and they have like 5-year plans, 10-year plans and things like that. And the 2049 in 20 years from now or so, that's going to be the 100th anniversary of the Communist Party claiming mainland China, right? And so that's going to be a big celebration where they want to have this global Belt and Road complete, where they can go from port to port that are completely Chinese controlled in other countries for both their civilian and military ships. And I'm sure they have other goals than that too, but that's just one of the major ones. So while they're not pressed for time, they do set time goals. Okay. The Chinese currency is the yuan. Oh, is it really? Okay. I didn't know that. Honestly, no idea. Huh. Maybe we better start learning Mandarin Chinese and figuring out what the yuan conversion rate is if things keep going the way that they're going. All right, let's go to the next one. Check this out. So from ABC News, the Associated Press writes, China protests U.S. Navy Coast Guard ships in Taiwan Strait. So we talked about this last week. The Coast Guard's doing a lot of patrols with the Philippines. We're also doing patrols with Taiwan's Navy. In this picture, U.S. Coast Guard cutter Monroe and a Japanese Coast Guard cutter patrol a very large vessel. Doesn't say the name of it. Anyway, they're patrolling the East China Sea near Taiwan. From the piece, from Beijing, China's Defense Ministry protests Saturday the passage of U.S. Navy warships and Coast Guard cutter through the waters between China and Taiwan, a self-governing island claimed by China. So that's really the crutch right there. So if the island of Formosa, also known as Taiwan, belongs to China, then the passageway, the Strait of Taiwan, would be Chinese waters. You know, there's no getting around it. Now, the way that the rules of the road are written is that if there's a shipping lane in that 100-mile breadth of water, then it's legal for, in peacetime, warships and cargo ships to operate in those lanes. This is very similar to what happens in the Black Sea and in that Russia protest. So even if China claimed Taiwan as theirs, which they do, by the way, they still don't have a claim on saying people can't transit their ships in these shipping lanes because these shipping lanes are in the center of the strait. It's not like they're getting really close to land on either side. And keep in mind, it's a 100-mile body of water, the Strait of Taiwan, 100 miles across. So it's not that narrow. Anyway, back to the piece. In a statement posted by the ministry's website called The Move provocative and said that it shows that the United States is the biggest threat to peace and stability and creating a security risk in the 100-mile Taiwan Strait. That's such a ridiculous claim because no one's at risk for doing this. This is just ships transiting through a strait in a shipping lane. It's just an absolutely unfounded claim. So what is China's position here? What are they trying to say is the norm? What is a threat to them? So what do they want? Well, they want to claim that water and not allow anyone through it, right? That's clearly against rule of law, that we've had for ages, also against rules of the road that we've had for centuries. So it's breaking all international norms is what China wants to do. And I don't understand why. I mean, they just want, it feels like they want to be belligerent for belligerent's sake. Like there's no goal. They don't gain anything by locking the Straits of Taiwan away from merchant traffic or controlling it. That doesn't benefit them. I don't see the benefit of them doing that, other than they're just trying to be provocative. I think that's the answer here. All right. So from the piece, it says, we express firm opposition and strong condemnation. That's what China said. The USS Kidd, a guided missile destroyer, and Coast Guard cutter Monroe sailed through the strait Friday in international waters, the U.S. Navy said. Such exercises are seen as a warning to China, which recently conducted drills near Taiwan and has re-announced the use of force if needed to bring the island under its control. That's a pretty scary sentence. I didn't know that they had escalated their claim on Taiwan to use of force. What is the date on this? This is a week ago, just over a week ago. This was written. The ship's lawful transit through the Taiwan Strait demonstrates the U.S. commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific. Yeah. It's not just our claim. It's like everybody's allowed to use these waters, you know, and it's not a threat to anybody simply sailing around in them. Anyway. And the piece just goes on. It repeats back and forth saying they don't like what we did, but we did it anyway. And now they're upset. You know, what do you guys think about this? Vulcan Writer says, in essence, China is saying that the U.S. is destabilizing things because we won't do what they tell us to do. Yeah, exactly. And the thing that China is claiming or saying doesn't even appear to benefit China. Obviously claiming Taiwan does, but limiting traffic in the Straits of Taiwan makes no sense to me. Who wins, right? Let's see. Les says the 12-mile national waters and then the exclusive economic zone extends beyond that. This is why they want the island that extends the exclusive economic zone for the controlling party. This gives them 1,000% control over the fisheries and all underwater mineral resources. Yeah. So like in the Straits of Taiwan, that's a very small part of the fisheries, issue. Yeah. I'm not saying I disagree with you, but you're taking a very narrow perspective on a very broad subject, I think. Fires says, did you have the 16 Chinese military flying over Taiwan? No, they didn't fly over Taiwan. Oh man, that's a great segue. Thank you for this. Talking about Chinese aircraft. This is the final story for today. Let's talk about exactly what's happening over there. So I did a little Google search and I put in Taiwan intercepts Chinese jets. Who's reporting on this and what are the dates? Well, Reuters, U.S. News, Defense News, CNBC, Al Jazeera, everybody's reporting that China is being provocative with their flights over Taiwan. So we're going to begin debunking some of these myths. This yellow journalism isn't being honest with you. They're misleading you with titles that they then correct at the bottom of the story that very few people ever get to. Okay. So, and these dates are from March of this year, April of this year, June, September of last year. So these stories pop up every couple months, right? Do you know why? Because it gets clicks. And they sell ads on the news site so that they can pay their reporters to write garbage like this. So what is really happening? What is really happening? Here's an example of one of the stories, by the way. Taiwan president praises heroic pilots for intercepting Chinese jets. Boy, it seems like these Taiwan people are really on the ball, aren't they? I'm not saying they're not, by the way. I'm arguing, I'm pointing out some really bad journalism to you right here. So what does China do? Every day, if you go to the China's government website, don't do this without a VPN and a really good antivirus software, by the way. But I go to the Ministry of National Defense, Republic of China, and every day they announce what air sorties are they going to be launching in the direction or near Taiwan, the types of aircraft that are going to be there, and they give you the routes every day. There's day after day of this. called Real-Time Military Updates. Let's just click this real quick. It has to go to China and back halfway around the globe. Every single day, the 6th today, the 5th, the 4th, the 3rd, every day they tell you where they're going to be patrolling, what aircraft and how many aircraft are coming out of China, and they don't fly over Taiwan. All Taiwan has to do is read the update. Okay, we've got J-16s today south of Taiwan. What are we going to do? We're going to download the PDF provided by China that they do every day in English and in Chinese, Mandarin. And they tell you, hey, for September 6th, which is the day of this recording, there's going to be 2 Su-30s and 2 J-16s in active area. Flight paths are illustrated for you. You don't even have to turn a radar on. You can go find these planes. This is an example of China not being provocative. And look where they are. You read the piece, you think they're flying over Taiwan. They're nowhere near Taiwan. They have the Su-30 is this green track. The J-16s is this red track. That's where they're flying today, guys. And they're telling the world. And they tell the world every single day. They have this update. Air situation dynamics updates. The 25th, the 26th, the 27th. Every day. So this is a bunch of propaganda. So don't read the propaganda that they put out every couple months thinking that there's some kind of high stakes tension happening between China and Taiwan when it comes to these flights. Okay, specifically these flights. Because they announce them ahead of time. And there's no violation of anyone's airspace. They even provide pictures for you. Look at this. Anyway, so, it's not all as bad as it seems.